Hey guys, Hemma here from CardRunners.com. Today we have a 1-2 hand where we're deep about 200 big blinds, which is a pretty standard buy-in for most casinos. We got queens in the big blind, and it's going to go ahead and fold around to the small blind who makes it 8. I would tend to make it a little bigger here, maybe 10 or 12, just because we are out of position and we are 200 big blinds deep. So I'd like to define his hand range a little bit better than just making it 8. Go ahead and play the action here. We 3-bet the 30, which is okay. I'd probably make it 32 or 35, but 30 is fine. I don't think that's a real significant difference. And then he's going to go ahead and complete the small blind. So $60 in the pot. Jack 5-3 is the board with a flush draw. We do have the queen of hearts. We bet 50 into 60 here, which I think is good sizing. It's better to err on the side of being too large than too small, in my opinion. But I would typically bet 45 here, and that's because that 45 is 3/4 pot, and I think that in most people's minds, a standard c-bet size is between 2/3 and 3/4 pot. So when you get in that 3/4 pot plus range, I tend to perceive that as much stronger than if it were just 3/4 pot, and it seems like a small difference. It's only $5 or 10% here, but I do think that when you're betting over 3/4 pot, it's going to be perceived as just a lot of draws. So, you know, a lot of ace-2, ace-4 of hearts here, 2 overs with 2 hearts type hands, and as well as value, you know, over pairs and sets and that are trying to protect. And you're doing that to try to increase your fold equity if you have a draw, and you're doing it to try to protect if you have a value hand. You know, I totally get it, and sometimes I advocate for it. But here, just, you know, $5 difference, I don't think is going to be you know, that big of a deal, but I do think your hand will be perceived as weaker, just making it $5 less. So, in spite of all that, the small blind decides to call, and the turn peels off the 8 of hearts. Now, the small blind elects to lead 120 into 160, and we do have the queen of hearts. It's difficult for me to put him on a range of hands here because most players will just elect to check it again here in the turn. We've shown, you know, aggression on the flop, and we've shown aggression pre-flop, so there's, you know, a very good chance that we're going to go ahead and continue here on the turn. So if the small blind does have a reputable hand, he'd be much better served to check raise more often than to lead on the turn again. But leading is okay. I tend to think he has hands like Jack 10 with the 10 of hearts, or maybe King Jack with the King of hearts in this situation, or maybe something weird that he peeled the flop with where he has like a heart where he's not sure if it's good or not. So he just wants to kind of lead and take control of the pot. From our perspective, I think that we still have the best hand, and I think that the best option is just to call. We can't fold out anything better. I don't really see any value to shoving. I think just calling and probably getting it all in the river is going to be the best play. That'll keep his range as wide as possible, and I think that'll get us the maximum value from the hand. So we do that. We elect to call, and the river peels off the ace of clubs. The small blind elects to check now. When he checks, I don't think that he has the best hand, because if the river improved him, or if he turned a flush or something like that, I think that he would just tend to shove river for value. He'd be shoving 200 into 400, be giving us, you know, 3-1 on our money, and it would be hard for us to fold. And if he did shove, I would call, and I'd feel pretty good about it. I think he will show up with hands like King Jack or Jack 10 quite a bit. I just don't think there's much else he could have. As played, I think that I'm shoving the river here for value. I think that we have the best hand more often than not, and I don't think we're going to get a ton of calls, but I just think that occasionally he'll look us up with like a King Jack because he'll be getting 3-1, and he only needs about 25% equity to make that call, which he might be able to justify. You know, maybe he thinks that we c-bet the flop light and then turn some kind of 10-9 with the 10 of hearts, something like that. And now we're bluffing the ace river, trying to represent a flush or 2-pair, or, you know, ace-x of hearts. So anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the forums, and I'll be sure to answer them. So thanks guys, this has been Hemma from CardRunners.com.